What's up, you guys? Steven here for Off the Shelf Movie Night to talk to you about physical media, about Blu-rays, 4Ks, and even sometimes a DVD. However you like to buy and own the movies that you love to watch, TV shows, documentaries, whatever. That's what we're about here. I say we because I include everyone who comments and likes and keeps this conversation going, because that's the whole reason that I started this channel, was to talk about my collection and learn about yours, because we are a dying breed, and that's what I'm talking about in this episode. So if you're new to collecting or you've been collecting forever, I think you're in the right spot. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and that notification bell so you know when I do new postings. And if you like this video, like it and share it. It really helps get the word out about the channel and brings more people to our talk. So this is the time of year every year. I think if you look back in my previous years, I usually do this around June every year, that I take a look at the state of physical media and try to decide where we are, where we're going, and is it dead? Is physical media dead? And the quick, too long, didn't watch answer is no, it's not dead. But how badly is it dying? Where are we in the conversation of movies and movie collecting and movie watching and all that stuff? Where are we exactly? Let's talk about it a little bit. I don't want to go over statistics because we can certainly, everyone can look that, up on the, media websites and see where we are sales-wise. What I want to talk about is bigger picture stuff that really impacts the sales that we do see. So where are we now? Theaters are back. A lot of, people, especially people who, there's a weird contingent of collectors out there that would love to see theaters die and just have everything at home. And I don't understand that. It's just selfishness, really, or it's this sort of weird space we're in where we have to have everything now. And it's because it comes to theater exclusively first, and you got to wait, now only 45 days to be in the conversation and see whatever movie it is. That's crazy. That's crazy. You would want to completely take something away from a group of people for your convenience. Because it's not like you can't see it. Now, I know it's expensive. If you have kids, of course, it's very expensive. Some people don't like to be in crowds. I get it. I get all that. I understand it. Sometimes it's too expensive for me. Sometimes I don't like being in crowds. Not often. If you're following my Pushing 100, I go a lot. But it is a way for everybody to be able to enjoy movies the way that they want, and for filmmakers to be able to put those movies in the best possible presentation that they intended them to be presented in. Literally, we're down to 45 days. It wasn't so long ago that you would wait 6 months. So I think it's a good compromise. We get 3 to 4 weeks of lockdown theater, and then the movie makes their money, and then they can take a chance on physical media, because sometimes putting a movie out on physical media is taking a chance, because fewer and fewer people are buying physical media. If you're a streaming fan and you're watching this, I'm glad you're here. I hope you learned something and maybe are a little more thoughtful about collectors and that kind of thing, because everybody should be able to see movies the way they want. The problem is with streaming, and I want to talk about the problems with streaming for just a minute. The obvious reasons you would stream are because it's convenient and it's accessible. If you have good internet, you can watch a lot of movies, and that's great. Now, from the filmmaking side, from a side that I'm also on, the opportunity to make money is much lower. You think, oh, there's so many more places for you to put your movie now. It's so great. If you want to put it for free almost. If you want to go into debt, because the market is so clogged with streamers now trying to bulk up their catalogs that they want to buy movies in bulk, giving you pennies for your movie because it's part of a catalog. It's stupid. So but that's an area that will work itself out. And I say that as a filmmaker, we'll get that figured out. So yeah, that's the advantages of streaming. Now, we always argue as physical media collectors. I use streaming services. I have Netflix. I have Hulu. I have access to Shudder. I say that because it's not really my subscription. I have HBO Max. I have Disney Plus. I have all of these services. Now, do I use them for movies? No. Very seldom. Very seldom. For me, streaming services are great for TV series that I don't want to rewatch. I have some TV series in my collection, but a lot of times there's so much content out there now that's just okay. That's good for a single watch. It's like a bag of popcorn. You eat it and that's it. You don't want it anymore. That's what a lot of the content happening on streaming services is. So I'm fine to watch it and consume it that way. So the only positives there is if it's a Hulu original or a Netflix original, you're probably guaranteed that it'll always be there. You're not that's not the same for other stuff. So the other issues are cost, because we all begged, our parents begged, as kids we begged for a la carte opportunities instead of cable. Cable was, oh my gosh, cable was so expensive. Well, now there's so many streaming services, and if you have FOMO and you want to see everything, you're spending the same amount of money and you're actually getting less. Now, yeah, basic cable has always been and still is mostly garbage. It is mostly garbage. But outside of those channels you might see something once in a while from another channel that would pique your interest. At least you had access. Now it's, you're paying, what are we paying, nearly $20 a month for Netflix now? That's about to end for me, by the way. Yeah, it all adds up. So yeah, cost is a big factor with streaming. Availability of movies is a big thing too. I have so often gone to Netflix and searched a movie and it's not there. Or I've searched a movie that was there and is now gone and has moved to a different service like Peacock or Paramount Plus or whatever. If they didn't create it, it's very likely they will be losing the license to it, because we are seeing a consolidation of the movies that are out there, movies and TV shows. Well, I mean, I guess like not a consolidation, but a siloing, because all of these different studios are seeing that the way that they're going to make money is to do their own service. That's why we now have Peacock and we have Paramount Plus. So they are pulling back their product from Hulu and from Netflix and HBO Max. HBO Max has Warner Brothers, so they have a lot. So the Criterion Channel is their own streaming service too. I'm kind of surprised HBO Max still has Criterions, but this is what's happening. So you're going to have to subscribe to more and more services. If you don't have fast internet, you're going to struggle with streaming services. That is becoming a smaller and smaller problem, though. It's happening very fast. Now, as I looked just before doing this recording, 36% of the world population does not use or does not have access to the internet. That's a lot of people. It's a lot of people, and those people cannot access streaming services. So that is why physical media still lives, honestly, because there's a lot of people that still buy it because this is the only way they can own movies still. And interestingly enough, I think this shifting that's happening in the streaming services, you can see it the most with Netflix, with the recent announcement that they bled 200,000 subs, and it's going to get worse, to the point where they're about to introduce an ad-based option. And it's because they're so damn expensive. Everybody's like, why? What's the cause? What's the cause? Well, guess what? They upped their prices a couple of times last year, and it's expensive. And then there's things like Tubi, which is free, but it has ads. And oftentimes Tubi will crop things improperly. And that happens across all of the network, or all the streamers, is they crop things improperly. Or just present them in the wrong aspect ratio, and then with the ads they just sling them in there. They set it up for every 15 minutes or every 10 minutes or whatever it is, and regardless of what part of the movie or show you're in, it just stops for the ad. So many times I've been watching stuff and the pace of the sequence just got crushed by an improperly placed ad. The other thing with streaming is, of course, the thing we as collectors, physical media collectors, complain about the most are edits. You see a movie as a child, or you see a movie in the theater and it was presented a certain way, and for whatever reason, whether it's overbearing creators or cultural issues or whatever it is, they re-edit the movies or change the movies in some way. I mean, the weirdest things, like Disney Plus, when they put up Splash, they put digital hair over the quick shot of Daryl Hannah's butt. Seriously? Stupid. so many, and I can't even count how many times the Star Wars franchise has been cut and recut, edited and re-edited. It's stupid. So yeah, those are the problems with streaming. If you're a streamer watching this video, trying to figure out why the hell we bother taking up space with physical media, these are the problems with streaming. And here are the benefits that still exist with physical media. Image quality is better. Even when you compare the best possible internet, I have Google Fiber, and I pay for 4K streaming, and it still does not compare image or sound to a physical disc. Everyone keeps saying, oh, that'll get worked out, it'll get better, it'll get better, it'll get better. We're going to get to why I don't think it will. So, also, extras. Now, not everyone cares about extras. The majority of people don't care about extras. Extras were like a nifty thing when DVD came out and it was something new and exciting. Most people don't care about extras. I do. I love extras, and that's why one of the reasons I'll always buy physical. Packaging. This is a net positive for collectors and not for people who stream. A lot of times people who stream don't want to take up space on their, putting up shelves for all the movies. It's no different than people who buy books or people who buy vinyl. People collect, and this is what we choose to collect, and often the times the packaging, especially from boutique distributors, is beautiful. Finally, I touched on it already, but access. The problems with streaming is how movies get shifted, how they lose their licenses, how even HBO Max will pull movies that are their movies, Warner Brothers movies. They'll pull them down for some freaking reason. Is it hard drive space? But they'll pull them down. But if you've bought the movie, you have it. And you have it as the filmmaker originally intended. There's no edits to it, so it's there. I want to talk about what's driving the market as of this year, as of 2022. This is the big piece. The other stuff is kind of the same every year when I talk about it, but this is the big piece that's different now. There's a couple things that have happened that I believe are going to impact physical media moving forward this year and have already been impacting it, and one's good and one's bad. So the bad one is Amazon bought MGM. And this is a situation where, as I mentioned earlier briefly, that media is being siloed. And Netflix is learning. Netflix had this sort of quantity over quality approach for years. Let's just bulk up that library and get a crap ton of stuff in there so people have a lot of options to view. But no one views it because it's shit. Because 90% of what Netflix produces is shit. It is. Happy to argue that with you. Most of the stuff that they have that's a Netflix original that's good, outside of a few things, is bought stuff. They bought it. Stranger Things is an outlier because it's a really well-produced show. I think the CGI is garbage, but the show is good. And there's been others that they produced. Russian Doll Season 1 was very fun. And yeah, they've had others. But I'm talking about, this is 1 in 10, 1 in 20 of all those garbage that they put out there. And they've learned, now that they're bleeding subs, that they've got to roll back the quantity and invest more into good projects. I think, for me, quality over quantity always wins. But in the early days of streaming, they had to show that they had so much stuff. And I guess I understand that approach. But anyway, Amazon is trying to have their cake and eat it too. By purchasing MGM, they get access to thousands of movies and tons of classics, including the Bond movies. Now, it remains to be seen how much of this stuff they will continue to provide on physical media. And this is the bad one, because I don't know. We're already seeing some things. There's little outlying movies here and there that you can watch streaming that are hard to find on physical media. Mostly newer stuff. But yeah, it's starting to happen. Warner Brothers is doing this a little bit on HBO Max, although they do continue to put out pretty good quality physical media. Disney's definitely doing this. We're in one of those situations where you probably should join the Disney Movie Club, because some things are just exclusively like print on demand through there and not in stores, right? So they're doing it. And it remains to be seen how much of that Amazon is going to do with MGM. Now, this is my hope, that they will at least do a print on demand option and sell it exclusively through the Amazon store, because Amazon likes money and they don't want to turn down any opportunity to have money. And while I will be very disappointed in a no bonus features, printed on demand disc. At least I get to own the movie and I can watch it how I want without having Amazon Prime, because Amazon Prime is kind of hot garbage. I hate the interface. I hate the software. I hate everything about it. So yeah, this is the one that I'm watching the most closely this year to see how it continues to go. Amazon has been a friend to theaters, honestly, and I've appreciated them for that. They continue to put their movies in theaters, even if it's in art house runs. At least they're putting them out in theater so that a filmmaker can actually see their movie released the way it was intended when it was made. So I'm hoping that translates into physical media and we continue to see MGM titles coming out and available, their classics, on physical. So the other big thing that I think we have to mention is the Paramount deal with Kino Lorber. Everyone lost their mind when this deal was announced, but Paramount has worked with Kino Lorber in the past, and I think people just kind of forgotten about that. But this is a great deal. Kino Lorber will be releasing 65 titles from Paramount. Some of those are renewed licenses, which is fine, and then there's a bunch of classics. But sprinkled in there's going to be some great important releases. There's going to be a lot of small run classics that they put out that only a niche group will be interested in, some of the older Paramount titles. Now, the problem that I have, and I don't know how this impacts the Paramount Presents line, is that line going to continue, or are those movies now going to go over to Kino Lorber? The Paramount Presents line is to me kind of a disaster because it's targeted at collectors with that slipcover, but then they put things out just on Blu-ray, and a lot of collectors, and a lot of you guys are just buying Blu-ray, but if you're a collector, you know, if you're someone like me who's in it for the image quality and the audio quality, you want the 4K. Now they in the early days of Paramount Presents, they put out Days of Thunder as a Paramount Presents title. Not a good movie, by the way, but just this is an example of what they've done to kind of screw up that line. They put that out in a Paramount Presents title, and then they release a separate 4K. So you got to look at that and think, well, do I want image and sound quality like the best, or do I want that cool slipcover? Should have been a question. And now they've just recently released their first Paramount Presents 4K, and I was hoping that was a sign of the direction we're going. But who knows? Who knows, now that we see this Kino Lorber deal. But we've also seen that happen with Universal. Universal Pictures has licensed out some of their movies to boutiques, and that's great. If that's the direction that physical media goes, I'm okay with it, because when you license your titles to someone like Arrow Video, for example, they're going to treat it with love. Kino Lorber does okay. Kino Lorber's 4Ks and their packages are okay. Their extras are hit and miss. Sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they don't give you anything. So it's a mixed bag. But if more of their titles start hitting boutiques, that's fine with me. That is totally fine with me. But there are issues with boutique distributors, and let's talk about those really quick. The biggest issue is obviously when we're talking about the growth of physical media and the maintenance of physical media, we need new releases. We need Top Gun Maverick to hit 4K and Blu-ray, and it will. Paramount is going to do that for sure. But if we start to lean more into boutique distributors, they need to start making some deals for new releases, because we can only buy old movies for so long. We need the new stuff too. And that is a big issue, is most of what you get from boutiques are classics or cult classics. Cult classics really drive boutiques, and that's fine. I buy a lot of cult classics. I love them. But I want these new movies too, and I want extras. But to do, let's say Top Gun Maverick got licensed to Arrow Video. That's great and all, but they don't have the money, they don't have the funding to spend to get Tom Cruise for an interview. And you'd want that in the extras. So that's a problem. The other thing is boutiques are expensive. So these super nice Arrow Video releases for a long time were $36 to $42. They've come down. They've come down to lower 30s now, and I'm kind of okay with that. The collecting market has been okay with that for a long time because we know what Criterion's cost. But they've got to come down. And ultimately, you've got choices, though. You can buy that nice box, and Arrow has been really good about, after the nice box sells out, putting a standard edition out of whatever movie that is. It's a little cheaper. You can expect it to be around $25 to $27, but you could also wait for sales and get it down around $17, which is great. But yeah, it's cost. But honestly, when we try to buy from the big studios, they're still selling Blu-rays for $25 and 4Ks for $30, $35. But we have some great options for collectors out there from the likes of Lionsgate, for example. Lionsgate gives us these beautiful steelbooks. Sometimes they're $35, but Paramount just put out a beautiful steelbook for for Raiders of the Lost Ark for $24. But I'm pissed off about that because I bought that crappy looking box set already. So anyway, that's all stuff that happens with collecting, especially if you're an early adopter. And if you're new to the channel, I do occasionally do what I call tactical shopping videos, where I try to give you some advice on what I think is going to happen in the future with certain releases, and maybe advise you to buy now or hold or whatever. We try to talk about that amongst our group here on this channel pretty regularly. Anyway, let's coming to the end of this discussion. Obviously, I said at the beginning, is physical media dead? No, it is not. But we are seeing things happen that are going to be pretty aggressively impacting us. The first thing is this snapping up of content. The Amazon purchase of MGM is big. There's going to be more consolidation of studios happening, and I'm hoping that doesn't mean we see less physical media, but it very well could, depending on how desperate these streamers get for every set of eyeballs. So it's scary times for that. And I don't know how we're gonna survive collecting new stuff moving forward. It's easy to get an international player, an all-region Blu-ray player, and a lot of times things that studios don't release here do get released in other countries, and we can import them. That is my biggest recommendation if you're trying to fill out your library. There's a beautiful UK edition of the movie Drive that is not out here, but you could get it from Second Sight. You could import it from the UK. It will be expensive. My complaint about boutiques, that thing's going to be about $50, but it's beautiful, has a book with it, has a lot of extras, and my understanding is the transfer is really nice. I didn't buy that one, but I do buy from Second Sight. So, and I do import a lot. So I would like to say that physical media is not dead, but the future is bright. But it's a little murky right now. I think the Paramount deal is a bright spot, and if we could see more studios doing that, making deals with independent, or I think there's a difference between independent and boutique, by the way. Kino Lorber is not a boutique to me. They're an independent, because a lot of their stuff is just basic releases. Arrow Video, Second Sight, Scream Factory even. Scream Factory to me is boutique. Shout Factory is not necessarily boutique. A lot of their stuff is pretty basic too. But anyway, that's a whole other topic for another day. But yeah, I would say right now I'm feeling about 50-50. I feel like the Amazon deal is mostly bad and scary, where the Paramount deal is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. We're still going to get those movies. So tell me what you think in the comments. Let's talk about it. And let's keep the conversation going until next we meet. Pull something cool off the shelf, share it with your friends and family, and remind them why physical media is the best way to watch films and TV at home, as my phone blows the hell up.